Alrighty, welcome back everyone. It is LaughNgamez here. I'm back with another Starcraft 2 1 versus 1 bot AI cast. And it's not just going to be one match today, it's going to be a best of 3 between two of these bots to really see how they interact between each other. And we have got two good ones, that's for sure. In the top left, it is Caninana. And taking on Caninana, it's none other than MicroMachine. And MicroMachine and Caninana, very good bots of their respective races. A Terran versus Zerg, but it is a bot versus bot match where the rules are different. And where there's a lot of different strategies and styles. And so, yeah, we're just going to see how they face off against each other. We've got Thunderbird, the AI edition, of course, being our first map. And ladies and gentlemen, seeing as how MicroMachine says it wins 38% of their encounters, let's go for 38 likes on this video. You guys blow it out of the water pretty much every time. And so if we could do that, that would be amazing. And of course, leave a comment down below saying more bots if you do want to see more of these bot matches. Now, MicroMachine winning 38% of the encounters means it is the underdog in this match. Now, it's not necessarily that straightforward, though, because 38%, like, that's only 12% off 50%, which would be a coin flip in essence. And while MicroMachine is definitely the underdog for this match, it's not like it gets stomped every time, which is very impressive, as it is a bot that doesn't receive updates, I believe, or hasn't for a couple of years at least. It's just got very good fundamentals and clearly some variation between both these bots. Maps affect win rates, that kind of thing. And so we do have MicroMachine going for a Reaper. Got that Reaper out, crossing the map, then a Marine and a Factory up behind that with double gas. So quite a not economic focused build. Whereas Caninana is also going for the Zerg equivalent of that, which is the later spawning, or the earlier spawning pool and the later hatchery. So neither of these bots is really rushing units. We have the Reaper coming in for MicroMachine. It may actually get that drone. It's very low on HP, however. The Queen does a good job of zoning that out. The Reapers for MicroMachine are some of the most aggressive ones in the game. Caninana has behavior to pull that injured drone away from the threat, which is good to see. Now there's 2 injured drones, though, which is going to complicate this a little bit as the Reaper jumps up and down. And MicroMachine really does have the most entertaining Reapers to watch. Getting a little bit of harassment off, nothing too significant. Also getting a scout on that Roachhorn, maybe going to make it a little bit worried. And yeah, the Reaper's just being chased around by these Queens. Inside the main base, I believe that was a scouting ling that just got killed off. It was indeed. The Reaper is still darting around for the red Terran. And yeah, just really getting good eyes on whatever Caninana has, keeping those Queens busy. We'll see if it can get anything done as it makes its way to the natural. There's already a couple of softened up drones. However, it tosses the grenade down to the low ground, which is interesting. Now speedlings are done. MicroMachine does kill off the one ling that was chasing it down. Caninana has got roaches on the way. And we do have a Banshee coming out for MicroMachine, which I guess must be like a matchup specific thing, because I did recently play versus MicroMachine, and it happens to... And it didn't actually go for any Banshees when I played versus it, but I was playing Protoss, so it does have variation between the matchups. And then we've got Cloaking Field on the way for MicroMachine as well, so that's going to make the Banshees be extra strong. Sometimes the Banshees can, just by their presence, not necessarily killing drones, can have more damage to some Zerg bots. Caninana actually comes to mind for that, because it will probably burrow its workers upon seeing that Banshee, which means they all won't be mining, instead of just losing a couple. So we'll have to keep close eyes on that. The Terran is getting up. Actually, is that 2 command centers it looks like? Yeah, this one's set to fly on over. But then it seems like it had another one queued up to build there. So that command center actually is just going to float towards the 3rd base, then building one at the natural. That's definitely an interesting way to go about it for MicroMachine, but that does mean that its natural's kind of going to be building in a safer location instead of the 3rd on location. Caninana behind this is just getting out some roaches. The Banshee is coming towards that natural. We'll see if it's able to get any damage done. The pressure will definitely be on a little bit for MicroMachine to get some damage done, as it did delay its own expansion so long, taking more economic damage. Looks like one drone goes down, the rest of them just burrow immediately. Queen's burrowing. It's like an Overseer shows up, and that does give the Queens confidence to unburrow, and the drones as well, chasing that Banshee away. It looks like the Banshee gets a creep tumor, gets a drone, a little bit of lost mining time, but all in all, that was quite a good defense from Caninana. Let's see, as this game develops here, we have got that third base just about done for MicroMachine, so it got a very late natural, but now it's going to have 3 bases against a Zerg that just got up its own third, as Caninana does expand, slower than other bots. Tunneling Claws is just about done for the Zerg bot, though. And Concussive Shell will be done for MicroMachine. That's definitely going to help out against potential roaches. Tanks on the way as well. We have Caninana seeing a Medivac. It really is impressive how much time has gone into programming these bots and programming reactions to seemingly everything. Like, who even knows if Caninana really does anything with that information, like seeing a Medivac, seeing a Viking, that kind of thing. But maybe it is just cool that the bot authors are at least collecting that info so they can really just expand off it as much as possible. And that makes a lot of sense when it goes to programming a bot that does scout. Like, just collect all the information you can, even if you don't use it as a programmer. Now, we do have a fusion core on the way for MicroMachine. Battle cruisers are something that it does like to build. However, Caninana is one of the worst bots to play BCs against because it has that pretty much guaranteed kill that it utilizes infestors to do. At the same time, there is more Banshees on the way. Maybe that fusion core is just going to be for Hyperflight rotors, which I believe you still need. No, you don't need a fusion core to get those anymore. To get that anymore, I believe. Anyway, we do have this Banshees flying around, being a bit of a nuisance, denying a little bit of mining time, but Caninana's defense looks really solid against this. So we've got both these bots just building up armies. MicroMachine is maybe getting ready to get a bit aggressive at some point soon, producing tanks, lots of random units, building the odd Hellion, which is a bizarre use of the factory. A Banshee will be killed by the Queens as well. That's a very successful defense by Caninana. There is 2 more Banshees flying around, though. And with MicroMachine controlling all those independently, the bot will have potential to get damage done with them, as it's not human. It will micro everything around the map simultaneously. That is one of the strengths of the bots. It can be issuing commands to units in 2 different places at once. Whereas a human, you can kind of do that if you're very fast, but I mean, bots can do it with an unlimited number of units in an unlimited number of places, which is one of the locations where they exceed human play. Now, let's see. We've got this Banshee still flying around, going to be trying to find some damage at the 4th base. Caninana has now got a 5th base building. There's a battlecruiser on the way for MicroMachine. We'll see if there's going to be an attack from the Red Terran or not. This really is an impressively passive game between these two. MicroMachine is going for later upgrades like it tends to do. No use of the engineering bay just yet. The armory not really doing too much. Whereas Caninana does have 1-1 on the way for melee units, plus 2 on the way for the roaches. Looks like there's still an Overseer flying around. We've got Caninana saying Battle Cruiser and then also saying Swarm Host MP, which is an interesting tag. I'm not sure I've seen Caninana make use of Swarm Host too often. That's very cool, though. The Zerg bot, though, it does have infestors on the way already. Neural Parasite researching. No Yamato cannon for the battle cruisers for MicroMachine as well, so we'll see how useful they're really going to be. Caninana is investing in 5, 6 Spore Crawlers, 7 Spore Crawlers behind the space, so it can Neural Parasite those battle cruisers and then send them to their death very promptly. There is some Spore Crawlers building in other locations as well, so getting them in every base, really going into this anti-battle cruiser play. Now, this is a very big commitment, so we'll see if it has effect, but look at this. Caninana is already coming in for an attack, not wasting any time. MicroMachine is set up very well to defend against this for the most part. Still, though, these roaches, they can just burrow and be safe. There is a Raven for MicroMachine, but it's not in position to help with these burrowed roaches. Looks like it is coming back, so these are some good trades for Caninana in that they're just completely free. The Raven does come forward, though, allowing some of these burrowed units to be revealed. The Raven actually goes a little too far back, so it's not really helping out. MicroMachine is bringing everything it can forward. Gonna drop a scan to catch a couple of roaches. The Zerg has the high ground, though. Marauders en masse for MicroMachine are trading out against these roaches, but their numbers simply aren't high enough. Now Neural Parasite catches one of the battle cruisers. MicroMachine is being pushed back. It's looking a little dicey for the Red Terran. That Raven is present, but now it's been Neural Parasited, so there's nothing to see. The roaches tank being Neural Parasited as well. I mean, there's a Banshee flying around still. The third base is being harassed by some Lings and a Roach. At some point, these minerals got mined out. Pardon me for not noticing that. MicroMachine is on 4 bases, but it is taking some economic damage. It's pumping out lots of units. There's no stim pack on this bio just yet either. The tanks really are going to have to be the saving grace to hold this location. The Terran still leads in workers compared to its opponents somehow, but man, the tanks are on siege for a moment. I'm not sure there's enough to buffer for them. SCVs are being pulled off the line to repair the tanks. One goes down. The rest are trying to hold that position. I'm not sure if MicroMachine is long for this world. It's got 5 command centers in total, so it can drop mules, but it's losing more SCVs at the third base. And mining really has been disrupted for the Red Terran as Caninana gets some massive damage done. Look at that, the income of MicroMachine falling to 500 minerals a minute. That is disastrous. Yamato Cannon going down. There is now Swarm Host out for Caninana, which is very cool to see. And then there's still the Infestors lurking, I believe, as well. The third base mining is being reestablished, but mining out this wall really caused trouble for MicroMachine. It must have been MicroMachine. I don't think Caninana would have sent units all the way across the map to mine that position out. So that is actually a little unfortunate, as it did come back to bite MicroMachine in the butt. The third's not mining. The fourth does have some mules dropped on it, so the Red Terran is trying to come back in this game. It's got a decent number of tanks out still. Well, 4 tanks, which is nothing to scoff at when it comes to bot games, but another battle cruiser gets grabbed, and Caninana has got such a killing zone set up. This is what, 12 spore crawlers? That's more than I think it even builds usually for these killing zones. Like, usually I thought it was like 5 or 6, and sometimes units would escape. Maybe Caninana is building more than if it's received an update or something like that. And MicroMachine's economy just is in a bit of a state of disarray. There's SCVs running all over the place, not really mining as optimal as they could. Some of them are pulled off the line to repair. I mean, Caninana is giving MicroMachine a little bit of time here, but I am somewhat concerned right now with this match, as the Red Terran, it's taken worse trades, and Caninana is looking pretty darn good. Supply-wise, the Zerg has got double the army supply of the Terran. MicroMachine is still on 5 orbitals, so it can drop lots of mules, that kind of thing. It's getting up a bunker at this 5th base so it can do the speedy gas mining. Caninana is beginning an assault, though, pushing forward. Neural Parasite catches a battle cruiser, catches a Viking, even lands the Vikings, which is very, very cute that the bot author took the time to program that, but that is more units dying for MicroMachine. And Caninana is looking particularly lethal in this one, cleaning out the third base, which I think really bit MicroMachine because it stopped mining at its third since it got harassed. Auto turrets getting dropped down as the Ravens are just killing, well, they're killing their own stuff. And I do think Caninana has taken this one in relatively straightforward fashion. And yeah, it is just showing us that this Zerg bot is prepared for pretty much everything. The harassment didn't amount to too much for MicroMachine. And yeah, that means we're going to fast forward to the end of this one so we can load on into the next match, see if MicroMachine will bring anything different out. Maybe the map being different will give it more of a chance to win the game. However, like, yeah, losing the BCs for nothing, being teleported onto those kill zones, it really is impressive. And yeah, Caninana is a very, very lethal Zerg bot. Everything gets cleaned on out. And I'll load us into the next match. All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen. It is going to be match number 2 of this best of 3 for you guys. This one is actually going to be my 5th MicroMachine versus Caninana match that I'm casting, though, as I've been dealing with some crashes on in the games. I cast a second match between Caninana and MicroMachine, and lo and behold, I got 15 minutes into the replay. It looked like things were going okay for MicroMachine. It had a better start, and then the game crashed. Whereas I didn't see that coming. I didn't know that that was how the game was going to end, as it's something that happens very, very rarely in these bot matches, is one of the better bots crashing, aside from the odd bug here and there. And so I was like, oh man, that sucks. So I went ahead and I wanted to sort of see the same start on the same map, so I requested another match on Abyssal Reef between the two of them. And then I did my due diligence. I made sure to search without getting spoilers for whether the replay description had a crash in it. And it didn't. So I was like, okay, great. This replay doesn't end in a crash. I like zoomed in super far on the page, so the only text I'd see was like the download button, and because I don't like getting spoilers for the games. And so then I searched crash and was like, all right, so there's no crash on that one. So I went to cast the second match, or I guess the third match, and I got 12 minutes in and it crashed again. And I'm like, WTH, what's going on here? And I even searched to make sure that this game didn't end in a crash. However, apparently on the bot ladder, there's a timeout result too. So whatever crash MicroMachine had, basically it was just labeled as a different error. And so while I did my due diligence to check to make sure that there wasn't a crash, apparently I didn't account for everything, which meant that then I had to find another replay. So I went and I just found a different one on a different map, because I was like, okay, maybe it's Abyssal Reef causing the issue for MicroMachine. And I'm very silly because it was Thunderbird. It was the same map as the first match, which I was like, that's no good. I don't want to do a best of 3. So I got like 4 minutes into that. And I was like, nope, that's not right. Because then I was also wondering, because I'm like, oh man, did I just click on the same replay as the first game? So I had to kind of pause, and it messed me up a little bit. Now, in this game, MicroMachine is in the Zerg's main with a Reaper. One Ling has gone down, and Caninana will lose an Overlord. And things could actually be better for MicroMachine in this game, assuming it doesn't crash. Because it's got this gas that it's actually able to speed mine of using the bunker, which is a lot of extra efficiency for MicroMachine. And yeah, it's really cool that that's the case. So we'll see if that's going to improve things at all for the Terran, whether that'll increase its odds of winning or not. I don't know. But that is something that varies from map to map. So MicroMachine can't do that on every map, but Automaton is a map that it can do it in the main base, which will give it a nice income boost for the start. And yeah, let's see. We've got the Reaper looking for drones. It actually gets one coming on in here, and we'll see if it can get this other one. It's chasing it to the end, and it gets 2 drones. That is actually crazy good for MicroMachine. I cast other games, and the other games I cast, it got one drone. I'm like, oh man, that's pretty good. But I did not expect it to get a second drone in this one, and the Overlord. So a much superior start for MicroMachine in this game, as long as it doesn't crash. Because in a way, Caninana is 3-0 in this best of 3, because for those of you that don't know, on the bot ladder, when a match is played between bots, if your bot crashes, that counts as a loss. And understandably so. Part of having a good functioning bot is having a bot that doesn't just bug out and crash, because that gives your opponent the wins. But so when I was casting that second match, I was like, oh man, am I just going to upload this with an anticlimactic ending? I thought, no, I'll cast a game that MicroMachine actually completes, or either dies or wins, not one that just ends with a lame crash. So we'll see if MicroMachine is able to pull it together in this one. It got a nice economic start, killing those 2 drones. The Banshee's now harassing Caninana, but I am concerned as this command center, I mean, it's taken its time. It's not the fastest expanding bot in the world. The Banshee, though, is being a nuisance, hitting the third base of Caninana. Queens are burrowing and unburrowing. That actually makes MicroMachine dump a scan, but Caninana has counterplay to that in that it just unburrows the queens. The Banshee realizes there's no Overseer, though, and is setting to work on some of these units, denying mining. Gonna get a Creep Tumor. Meanwhile, MicroMachine is coming for a push across the map. Marines, 2 tanks, and a Cyclone are joining this attack at the 3rd base. We'll see if Caninana can save it or not. It does have a lair done, so the question is, where's the Overseers? They are done, and they're coming across now. This will help MicroMachine push this Banshee away. At the same time, the Cyclones are here, and the Marines are kiting back against the Lings, but with 2 tanks set up, there is potential for MicroMachine to find some success, but the Roaches, they really are just a great counter to everything in the early game. Since Caninana researched that burrow, it's totally fine. MicroMachine has to send that Banshee home, and it got a little bit of delayed mining time. It got a few Lings, but it didn't get that much damage. And compared to the other games that I cast, I think it got more denied mining with the Banshees. So Automaton, of course, being a factor. The base layouts, the Banshee went towards the 3rd instead of the natural. And let's see. We've got +1 on the way for MicroMachine. Now still gas mining, making a ruckus with that. The natural is secured. And we'll see if there's going to be a 3rd sometime soon. For now, though, MicroMachine is pushing out with its Raven, a couple Marines, and a Medivac being a little cute. Overseers are keeping tabs on these guys. Going in, keeping vision on the units, and then retreating. Looks like Lings are collapsing on top of these Marines, though. Medivac can support them, but whether it'll actually lift them up, I don't know. I'm not sure that's something MicroMachine does. So 3 Marines die for naught. And then MicroMachine is just making the ragtag group of units that it always does on its side of the map. It's got the defensive tank set up, so it will be fine for now, as Caninana isn't exactly getting aggressive. It's just macroing up. Gonna have a 4th base that's saturated very quickly. So economically, I think Caninana is in a good spot this match. The Reaper is skirting around, and this Banshee is gonna come on in once more. It is hanging out at the 5th base. Caninana seemingly had a bad drone rallied. Maybe it was to build a 5th. But that Banshee has some success, forcing the Queens now to burrow. The scan mechanic is very funny. I mean, it's good for hunting down drones, but all it does is make the Queens unburrow and be more of a threat for the Banshee. MicroMachine is moving out, looking to secure up a 3rd base. It's also got a Hellion at its 4th, the Raven there too, so it can expand to either of these locations. A Ling somehow made it in, though, at this 3rd, and is set up nicely there, so MicroMachine will have to expand towards the bottom right. We've got Hyperflight Rotors on the way for the Banshees. There's presently just 2 of those out. Still harassing a little bit, but not finding too much success. We've got 1 Viking out for MicroMachine as well, which can help try and zone out some of these Zerg Overseers. I'm quite concerned, though, for the Red Terran bot, as Caninana hits a whopping, well, it's getting up to a whopping 5 bases, 73 drones already, pumping out more of these. It seems like it's making very good time on its macro effort. The Banshees are coming on in. They're forcing more drones to burrow, but there's detection for them, so one of them actually goes down. The second one takes damage and gets chased on out. We do have double expansions going down for MicroMachine, which is good to see at least. Still, though, I'm concerned this is quite a rough economic spot for MicroMachine if we look at it like a standard TVZ. And just my concern, it still kind of holds, even though it's a bot game, just because Caninana is such a late game monster. And I'm concerned whether MicroMachine will have success. Banshee is going to start shooting at this hatchery. It's going for drones, though. It's not just going to try and cancel that hatch. Forcing more Queens to burrow. It may actually get a drone, and it does. So they're still finding the odd bit of success here and there, but now there's infestors lurking around. Lots of static defense. MicroMachine is trying to zone out these Overseers, which is cool that all these groups of units are independently controlled. Some of the Overseers take a bit of damage, but Caninana is in a good spot. We're seeing Swarm Host on the way for the blue Zerg. That 6th base is halfway done as well, so no economic worries at all for Caninana, really. It's building a boatload of Spore Crawlers, as it does like that static defense. I definitely can't blame it against all these Banshees. And then we just look at the vision of Caninana. It really knows what's going on with all these Overseers. Flying in, flying out, flying all over the place. This Banshee is walking on a razor's edge. And, I mean, MicroMachine, it's on 4 bases. It's got a solid economy going. We'll have to wait and see when it's going to take a 5th base or not. But Caninana's getting ready to attack. Lots of Lings are moving on out. There's Roaches as well. 1 tank is sieged up at this base. It's going to shoot some of the Lings, but there's a lot more Zerg coming on in towards this 3rd base location. There are Hellions that can help clean up some of these Lings, the tanks and Marauders to deal with the Roaches. It's not going horrible. Still, though, I'm concerned. If MicroMachine's being pressured by Caninana like this, I'm not sure it's going to be able to counter and get anything done. Lots of Roaches are just burrowing to stay alive, so the lack of detection hurts. And MicroMachine all of a sudden is having some of its Banshees turn into foes. Although one of the Banshees is being a hero and actually saving its friends, 2 of them being heroes. They kill those 2 Infestors. Another Infestor does come on in, so 2 more Neurals go down. Caninana is being a nuisance with these Infestors to counter the Banshees, and it's very cool what Caninana does. It cloaks and uncloaks the Banshee, which burns 25 energy as a way to just make it so the Banshee can no longer be invisible. Scans are going down against these Roaches as MicroMachine constantly keeps the fight up. We've got a 5th being established for the Terran. If MicroMachine fights in range of its tanks, it should have no problem dealing with all these Roaches, but the skirmishing away from the tanks or leaving the tanks unsupported is where my concerns rise. We do have a battle cruiser on the way for MicroMachine, and still lots of stuff being produced as the Red Terran moves forward, but Caninana is just a macro Zerg monster right now with 2-2 upgrades on the way. The upgrades are fairly even. The army supply is quite close. However, this is the kind of engagement that makes me worried. Just tanks on their own, sieging up a little bit awkwardly. Still, though, MicroMachine is doing a great job pushing forward. How many Roaches has it killed? It's only killed 11 Roaches, but the amount of damage they've soaked is next level as Caninana has got that good behavior to pull them back. Not enough scans or anything, or the Raven isn't present to allow these things to be killed, as this Raven does continue to fly around. Not really dropping auto turrets, though. That is something I'd like to see, auto turrets being utilized more often. Vikings being grabbed as Infestors toss out neural parasites all over the place. MicroMachine is bleeding out quite a few units. Still, though, it's holding the line for now. Got some tanks set up all over the place. Banshees flying around. The only use of the auto turrets is when Caninana neural parasites the Raven and is able to utilize those spells itself. The Zerg bot now identifies that there is battle cruisers, so maybe adjusting its behavior, maybe going to set up its nice little kill zone that it does to allow it to take care of those. We've got more neural parasites catching some of these Terran units, and resources-wise, MicroMachine is falling behind. It's currently 6 bases to 5, which isn't terrible for the Terran. Tanks getting some nice shots off on those Roaches. Supply-wise, though, MicroMachine is starting to fall down as it just trades out units non-stop, units that it can't easily afford to replace. I mean, the macro for MicroMachine is quite solid. It's bringing in more money than Caninana, but it's taking worse trades, making 3 tanks at a time. Supply-wise, it's hovering at 160. We'll see if it can maintain, maybe start taking some better fights. 1 battlecruiser did get teleported, but it is going to get hunted down, finished off by Corruptors and Hydralisk. And the Roaches, they just continue to skirmish, getting insane efficiency. Raven allows actually one of those Roaches to die. MicroMachine really needs more tanks sieged up at the front here to help out against them, because tanks are one of the few units that can kill Roaches in this circumstance. The Raven does allow a few more of them to be picked off, so trades do seem to be getting a little better for MicroMachine. It's cases like this, though, where it just has a random tank wandering out on the map that is far from ideal. More command centers are being set up by MicroMachine, though, so it can potentially expand more in the future and play this game out. Tanks are shelling away still, killing off some Roaches and Hydras. As Caninana transitions into Hydras, that means those are units that will not just be doing the hit and run like the Roaches are, so they'll actually be dying. And this could reduce the cost efficiency of Caninana in the long run, because, yeah, Hydras actually die. They don't burrow as quick as Roaches. They can't just get away, whereas the Roaches, yeah, they stay alive. MicroMachine does seem to be getting pushed back now that there is this large group of Hydras, though. The Terran army just doesn't seem to be in high enough number at once. Lots of supply caught up in production, so it's a bit deceptive right now for the Terran. Neural Parasite taking the tanks of MicroMachine, and the 5th base really is being bullied off, so that is a big loss of income potentially for MicroMachine as this game drags on. The gas is also a bit of a bottleneck for the Red Terran, and Hydras are really just pushing on in. Caninana, Neural Parasite's another tank. The SCVs are like, I can't heal you anymore, man, you're the enemy. Marines are gunning down some of these Hydras, doing what they can. Caninana just continues to throw the kitchen sink, though, at MicroMachine. And, yeah, things are looking really darn good for the Red Zerg here, as it is going to be breaking MicroMachine, I think. Things tend to get worse, not better, the later the game goes against Caninana. And it does make me wonder if MicroMachine pooled its units a little bit better. Maybe it would have better luck. And I think, once again, the lack of upgrades may be hurting MicroMachine. Only having 2-1 against 3-2 Roaches and Hydras, not having any extra attack damage for the tanks means they're dealing less damage than they could or should. And MicroMachine, of course, wants to expand, but Caninana says, no, I got some creep and a burrowed ling blocking that. So the Terran is really just stuck on 3 bases, but once things start to fall apart for MicroMachine, things fall apart fairly quickly. It's a rapid disassembly. And yeah, Caninana's army control is just X level. It is a bit of a bummer that that other game did end in a crash, because both bots were 200 supply. It looked like it could have gone either way. All I'll have to do is cast more MicroMachine against Caninana games, and if you guys want to see more of them, let me know down below in the comments. Click that like button if you haven't already. If you want to support these casts and casting 5 matches to get a two-match video out, consider becoming a YouTube member. Any support goes towards YouTube stuff. And yeah, big thanks to everyone that does support the channel. Caninana does win against MicroMachine the majority of the time, it seems. Still, though, MicroMachine does win the odd game here and there. It's not a total pushover, which is very impressive for a bot that hasn't received an update since 2022. Seeing as how we're almost 2025, MicroMachine holds its position on the ladder very well. It's quite impressive. And yeah, that is going to be it for this one, as the Zerg's all over the place, because Zerging is a verb, apparently. There is 439 creep tumors, and ever growing, out on the map right now. And that is going to be that. GG.